Thomas Alive Today presents
Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. The chain's namesake is Arthur Treacher, an English character actor typecast as the perfect butler for his performances as Jeeves as a butler in several Shirley Temple films and the role of Constable Jones in Walt Disney Productions' Mary Poppins. At the time the chain was founded, Treacher was best known as the announcer and sidekick on the popular The Merv Griffin Show. Treacher refused in interviews to confirm whether he had a financial involvement in the restaurants. Regardless, he served as a spokesman for the restaurant chain in its early years, underscoring the British character of its food. He would sometimes visit the restaurants in a red double-decker bus. In a 1975 interview, New England franchise vice president M. John Elliott claimed the fish recipe to be the actor's own, brought over from the United Kingdom. The franchise company was started in Columbus, Ohio in 1969 as National Fast Food Corp. Its principals at the time included S. Robert Davis, his friend and future Wendy's founder Dave Thomas, and L. S. Hartzog. Davis was a real estate developer who built and leased several Colonel Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken properties. Thomas sold his Colonel Sanders franchises back to that company for $3 million. Hartzog ran a chain of bakeries selling biscuits to Colonel Sanders franchisees nationally. In 1970, Fisher Foods swapped capital with and licensed franchises from National, with a total of 550 franchises sold, 106 to Fisher alone, but only 99 stores were actually in operation. Long John Silver's, Captain D's, Skipper's and Alfie's Fish and Chips likewise employed the fish franchise concept about the same time. Aided by Arthur Treacher's advertisements, these companies introduced British fish and chips to northeastern America, albeit 4 years after Salt's Fish and Chips, later renamed H. Salt Esquire Authentic English Fish and Chips, introduced British fish and chips to America and California. By the early 1970s, National Fast Food had become Orange Company. Under this name, Davis conducted an aggressive expansion campaign from 1972 through 1976. Lacking equity, he relied on generous sale-leaseback agreements. Under the terms of these agreements, Orange Company would sell to investors sites for new restaurants and then sign long leases, unconditionally guaranteeing to continue lease payments if the restaurants failed. On November 21, 1979, Orange Company sold Arthur Treacher's to Mrs. Paul's Seafood. However, under the terms of its original sale-leaseback agreements, Orange Company remained liable for millions of dollars of payments to investors. The cod wars between the United Kingdom and Iceland during the 1970s caused cod prices to double. Mrs. Paul's Seafood responded by replacing the Icelandic cod in Arthur Treacher's recipe with less expensive pollock. The move exacerbated tensions with franchisees, some of whom had already withheld a total of $5 million in royalties for what they perceived to be a steadily declining level of service. Litigation arising from the conflict eventually reached the United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. After losing the case to the franchisees and having no way to compensate them, Mrs. Paul's Seafood sold Arthur Treacher's to Lumara Foods of America Incorporated in March 1982. Lumara Foods filed for reorganization under Chapter 11 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code in July 1982. The company was subsequently bought by a group of investors and the corporate offices were relocated to Youngstown, Ohio. It went into bankruptcy in 1983. 2 years later, it was merged into a shell company by Jim Cataland. From 1985 to 1993, Cataland slowly expanded the company again. In 1993, money from a new group of investors was used to introduce a more modern seafood concept, to buy additional stores, and to move the company from its base operations in Youngstown, Ohio to Jacksonville, Florida. In the mid-1980s, franchises in Detroit, Michigan were converted by their owner to a new chain called Seafood Bay. Arthur Treacher purchased 6 Seafood Bay locations back in 1997 but was unsuccessful in reverting them. The company experimented with co-branding, forming an alliance with Arby's for co-branded locations. One such location existed in Breezewood, Pennsylvania. However, by the late 1990s, Arby's parent Triarch removed the Arthur Treacher's portions of its co-branded Arby's. In 2002, the company holding the Arthur Treacher's trademark was acquired by Pat Franchised Systems, the wholly owned subsidiary of True Food Systems. In 2006, Nathan's Famous bought the exclusive rights to market the Arthur Treacher's trademark and sell their products co-branded with Nathan's own concepts, Kenny Rogers Roasters and Miami Subs. However, Pat Franchised Systems retained a license agreement entitling it to sell Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips franchises in 8 states. In 2021, Nathan's Famous announced plans to offer Arthur Treacher's branded food nationwide as a ghost kitchen concept only available via food delivery services. Senior Vice President of Restaurants James Walker said, "We think it's a nice combination of historic storied brand with new focus on the food." The last remaining freestanding Arthur Treacher's restaurant is located at 1833 State Road in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. It has been owned by franchisee Ben Vittorius since the late 1980s. He credits customer loyalty to the brand, to the taste of a unique product and memories of happier and less complicated times. In recognition of the restaurant's survival, Cuyahoga Falls Mayor Don Walters designated June 30, 2021 as Arthur Treacher's Day. In addition to the last remaining standalone Arthur Treacher's restaurant in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, several Salvatore's pizzerias in Rochester, New York have attached Arthur Treacher's franchises still in operation. The Twin Oaks Convenience Store at 34099 State Route 7 in Pomeroy, Ohio also maintains an attached Arthur Treacher's franchise location, sharing kitchen space with a Hunt Brothers Pizza and a Sub Express.
At Arthur Treacher's, please don't take our sign too literally. Our specialty isn't just delicious tasting fish. Our specialty is delicious food. Sure, Arthur Treacher's got famous for the original fish and chips, but we also specialize in boneless chicken and chips, and shrimp and chips, even our own mouth-watering sandwiches. Come to Arthur Treacher's and let us cook you our specialty. The only thing we need to know is, which one?
Arthur Treacher's, we are something else.
If you have any fond memories, please indicate it at the comments below. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and like.